On January 1st, 2020, we welcomed the new year, assuming that it would be similar to 2019. That is to say, that besides the presidential election, it didn't look any different than the previous year. There was no dark cloud on the horizon. Actually, there was, but we didn't see it coming. The virus started as a trickle on January 21st, 2020, with the confirming of the first known case of the virus in Seattle. With that, the coronavirus snowballed across the country. Now more than 468,000 people have died of the coronavirus in the United States, and more than 2,300,000 worldwide. There are more and more vaccines, but the production and the rollout has been much slower than expected and hoped. Here's how our church responded. Our last 10 a.m. service in the sanctuary was on March 8th. 2 days later, we closed our building, and within weeks, we sadly let go of some beloved staff because our income was dropping. For the first 5 months of the pandemic, Lori and I emailed or posted something for the congregation most every single day. Sometimes it was an uplifting song or a picture of a beautiful sunset. Sometimes it was a poem or a video of humpback whales. Sometimes it was a quote or a verse from the Bible. When summer came and elevated our moods, we decided that we no longer needed to send or post every day. And now we just do so as we feel inspired. Also, since we could not gather in person, Lori and her husband Jacob and I began what we called virtual church. Using our smartphones, Lori and I videoed ourselves reading various parts of the service. Jacob put everything together and made it look great, and posted it on the church's YouTube channel. On March 15th, I emailed the congregation a link to our first virtual service. As the weeks passed, we improved the experience, including piano music from our music director, Craig Tucker, and the participation from our children, who Lori recruited to read different parts of the service for the video. In my sermon for our first virtual church, I said, the virus has reminded us that we are the church, whether gathered in our sanctuary or scattered across the globe. Our building is closed, but our church is open. Every Sunday at the beginning of the announcements, one of the ministers says, "Good morning, church," as a reminder that the church is the congregation. It's you. It's me. We are the church. A church united in spirit and grounded in love. Another plus of the videos is that they have helped us reconnect with former members who no longer live in the area, including some that I never met in my 25 plus years here. Many of our current members forwarded the videos to their friends and family across the country and around the world, including, but not limited to, Germany, Great Britain, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Italy, Canada, Puerto Rico, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, Missouri, Kansas, Michigan, Texas, Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington, and of course, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. While we assume that many of these only watched a time or two, it's exciting to think that our church connected with people in so many places thanks to the internet. After months of virtual church, we held our first in-person outdoor service in the courtyard on July 19th. We overcame many logistical issues for those in attendance and those who would later watch the videos. Finally, on September 13th, we held our first indoor service since early March. As with the services in the courtyard, attendees were required to wear masks and sit socially distanced. It was so wonderful to hear Craig play the organ and to soak in the joy of being back in our beautiful sanctuary. Craig has also done a great job with our soloists who have been recording music for us to use in our services. We even videoed and emailed our 2 Christmas Eve services. Since the beginning of the pandemic, Reverend Lori Burgess and Reverend Maureen Kessler and I have called our members who needed some TLC. While the vast majority of our congregation has internet access and receives our emails, a handful of other members have no internet connection. We have reached out to these members too. Throughout the pandemic, we have greatly benefited from Zoom, an online video chatting service that allows multiple people to both see and talk to one another in a Brady Bunch format. We have used it for board and committee meetings, virtual fellowship time, current events in perspective with David Dorman, and adult education, including Bible studies. We plan to keep using Zoom even after our building fully opens and our traditional in-person events resume. Thanks in large part to the hard work of church member Reverend Keith Fiveson, our Center for Wellbeing offered an incredible variety of online programming, especially over the summer, including Monday Mindfulness, led by Keith, Qigong Tuesday with Dr. Adina Dabajah, Prayerful Wednesday with church member Reverend Maureen Kessler, Thursday Bible Study with church member Lisa Larson Hill, Your Environment Now with Dr. Hildur Polistor, Nancy's Nourishing Kitchen with Chef Nancy Ferraris, and Tuning In with Teens with Kathy Riva Bloomgarden. In the midst of our pandemic, when many people were home for days on end, our church and community greatly benefited from these gracious and multi-talented volunteers. I have been working from home since March 10th, 2020, when we shut down our building. I set up an office in our living room with my laptop and external monitor, printer, and all of that. Living next door to the church, I do have easy access to anything I need from my office. Despite the fact that we have resumed the 10 a.m. service in the sanctuary and resumed several in-person meetings and classes, I will not be moving back into my office anytime soon. As an asthmatic who does not want to take any chances with COVID-19, I will stay put for the foreseeable future. I look forward to getting the vaccine whenever my turn comes. I have every confidence that our church will emerge from the pandemic even stronger for having lived through it. I believe our church family will have a greater appreciation for one another and for the many ways our church enriches our lives. Our church is grateful for our Executive Director, Donna Marquez, for keeping our building and non-ordained staff in compliance with the latest COVID-19 protocols. Thanks as well to our top-notch custodial staff, Louis, Ivan, Brian, Jesus, and Antonio, for the deep cleaning it has taken to keep our building free of COVID-19. Hear these words from a modern take on Psalm 46, which tells us, God is a safe place to hide, ready to help when needed. We stand fearless at the edge of the cliff, courageous in sea storm and earthquake, before the rush and roar of oceans, the tremors that shift mountains. River fountains splash joy, cooling God's city, this sacred home of the Most High. God will help when the morning dawns. Everyone see the marvels of God, who plants flowers and trees all over the earth, bans war from pole to pole, and shatters all weapons. God says, slow down, be still, take a long and loving look at me, and know that I am your God, above all and above every single thing. The God of peace is with us. The God of Jacob and Rachel is our refuge, a safe place forever and ever. In the midst of all this pandemic-induced turmoil and craziness around us and within us, God says, be still. Know that the God of peace is with you forever and ever. Amen.